Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I want you to visualize something in your mind's eye for a moment. Visualize a 3-year-old boy standing just as tall and straight as possible, with his head tilted back and his chin thrust forward, his right hand over his heart, standing at attention with his cowboy hat in his left hand, paying respect and honor to our national anthem. I have a picture of this young man, 3-year-old JP from Virginia. And the NFL could take a lesson from this young man. Shame on the players that haven't got a pinch of patriotism like this 3-year-old. Right now it's time for God Bless America with Kate Smith. Good morning, everybody, right here on KBAR. Zeb at the Ranch, morning to you. Patriots with the pledge, call in. And a good morning to you. It's going to be a beautiful day, I think. I hope so. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And, of course, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with all the traction tires to get you through the snow and the ice. Stop in and see them today. And also some of our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, my friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doug, I always appreciate it when you do it. Call in, and thank you. By the way, did you hear a honk of the horn yesterday afternoon? That was me going by.
I did. I seen that.
Yeah.
The ambulance chasing you, too.
No.
But, you know, it's always a good day when the Democrats have to pick the feather off their dinner.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, buddy. Call back. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. Hey, by the way, it's time for the weather, and I can't wait to hear what Gina has compiled for us this morning. K&R Rental. Good morning, Roger. They get there early in the morning. I mean, 7 o'clock, they open the door and say, we're ready. We're ready. Come on in. They're located at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. And you can see just a whole bunch of equipment out there ready for you. That's right. They've got all the tools and equipment to finish any construction project. And let me tell you, if you're not sure what you need, they've got the expertise to make sure they can help you line up the tools necessary. So give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Right now it's time for the weather.
Looks like that little storm front has moved past us. Today and tomorrow going to be nice, but Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, well, looks like another storm front's moving in. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly sunny skies for today, a little on the breezy side. Winds out of the southwest, right around 7 to 10 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 40 for today. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, with a low of 28. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 45. More clouds rolling in for Wednesday night, mostly cloudy skies with a low right near 35. Now for Thursday, snow showers are likely mostly before noon, mostly cloudy skies with a high of 38. About an 80% chance of snow showers, new accumulations less than an inch possible. For Thursday night, that snow shower could continue mostly before midnight, low right near 23. And then for Friday, 30% chance of snow showers, mostly cloudy skies, high of 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you. Great job. As always, I compliment her for her expert weather forecast. Brought to you by K&R Rental. Hello, gang. They're serving you. Been there since 7 o'clock this morning. I'll tell you what, they're the best. 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Call them, K&R Rental, 678-3122. Want to remind you, Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard with Merv, May, Cade, Rocky, Lance, Udy, the sale that works for you. 10 o'clock sale time, Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number to call for sale information and cattle consignment, 678-9411. Give them a call. Don't forget Thursday sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard in Burley. By the way, too, I want to mention and say thank you to Kevin and Cindy and their whole crew over at Daryl's Cleaners. I keep mentioning and bragging on them because they are so good. As much as I traveled all over the United States and, for that matter, the world when I was really, really running hard in my other career, I'd always come home with a great big bag full of Rumply Crumplies, and I thought, oh, man, they're never going to get these clean. And woe is me, they absolutely did a great job. What was me? I mean, I should say great to me. They did a fantastic job of getting everything looking brand spanking new. They're the best cleaners in the world, and believe me, I've gone to many others that can't even hold a candle to what they do. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You be sure and stop in and see those folks today. They are good. Well, the Democrats, and for those, I got to tell you this, folks, the Democrats here locally, they just don't want to call in and be on the air. I think they're ashamed or embarrassed as to who they are and what they represent, but yet they'll go around and they will make the remarks anonymously. Well, the Democrats nationwide saw the light yesterday, and quite frankly, that light was a train of animosity against them for being so inept and stupid in the government shutdown. And Chuck Schumer is and should be on the chopping block for taking the Democrats to this point. It was shameful. And another Democrat, Joe Manchin of Virginia, you know, I've got a lot of respect for Joe. I do. And he stood up at a podium yesterday and he quite frankly said the Senate needs to work better together. And also, this was a key point. He didn't mention Schumer's name, but he came out and made this remark that there is too much power given to the leadership of their party, and i.e. it was a good slap across the face to Chuck Schumer. And they are part of, and they need a common sense coalition back there, bipartisan, so that we, the people, the constituents, can get things done for us. Now, they've only got until February 8th, and then this whole deadline mess is going to come back and haunt us, all of us, again. And hopefully they can get that rectified before February 8th. But also, later on, next hour, we are going to have United States Senator Mike Crapo on the phone, and it's going to be a short interview. I don't like that, but we're going to get to as many subjects as we can, and we're not going to take outside phone calls because we really want to go bing, bang, boom with the answers, and I apologize for that. One of these days, I promise you, I'm going to get him on for a full segment, half hour, and open the phone lines up, so don't be offended by that. I just got to get a whole bunch of things in a short period of time. And then at 9:30, we're going to talk to Representative Fred Wood about a very biased and slanted news media here in the state of Idaho calling Idaho's legislature and legislators elitists. And then another headline in our wonderful Times News said Idaho's legislators are out of touch. Really? We'll talk to him about that. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Ramsey Heating and Electric, they have all your heating, cooling, and electric needs. And you know they've been in business for well over a half a century. Now, how many businesses last that long? Not that many, and they're just going strong, getting bigger and better, and they've got all the inventory to take care of your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. All you need to do is give them a call or stop in, 678-0459, and they're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Open the doors at 7:30 in the morning until 5, Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric. All right, it's your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, we're going to talk about the FBI in a minute. The FBI. Remember when you and I were kids? And, they had such television shows, the FBI, and everybody cringed I think a lot of us cringed in fear of the FBI. A lot of us were very, very proud of the FBI as an investigative source and getting the job done. Now, a lot of egg on their face. Speaking of eggs, I know a great place to go and get eggs of all kinds, omelets, over easy, scrambled, whatever. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland and Burley, and also the other location, and that's 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls, is America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. Now, I don't care what time of the day it is, breakfast, lunch, dinner time, anytime, all the time, serving you with the best of food, great menu choices, and service with a smile. These people are so nice. You're going to love it. And we're going to be over there for Lunch Bunch this Thursday. And special thank yous go out for our gift certificate donors to Walmart, Smith's Food, Hanson Mortuary, and Stokes Groceries. Thank you so much. And that's going to be Thursday at 11:30. Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland and Burley, America's Diner. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hello, buddy.
About this DACA thing. This is a miracle for all these illegals that want to stay in this country, but it's going to turn out to be a nightmare for the taxpayers. These people come in here for one reason. They're not going to assimilate. They're going to overpopulate and overtake our country.
Tony,
10 years down the road, this will not be the same America that you and I remember.
No, I totally agree. Tony, caller number 2, don't go away. I'll be right there. Tony, one of the things that offends me, and I don't care if it's written by some local yokel or if it's written by an op-ed writer for the Times News or whatever, I couldn't care less. But they paint the picture, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, please. But they paint the picture that all of these DACA kids, these dreamers, are all rocket scientists, all great mathematicians, all great people. That's not true. And there's a lot of them that have holes in their screen door with the law. They've had a lot of problems being gang members. We're not being told all the truth.
Well, they're not going to school. Most of them are uneducated, and it would take billions of dollars to educate these people, and they're still not going to assimilate.
Well, I'm in favor of what you said. I think our immigration program needs a stop, a look at, and then go to a certain quota system, because this is not the America of 150 years ago. We've got a lot of problems. We've got problems with logistics. We've got problems with what's happening with our environment. We've got problems with housing. We've got trouble with welfare systems. I think we better back up the bus a little bit and take a good look at everything. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And I just wonder why the Democratic Party is so intense on turning our country over to people that are only going to ruin it.
I agree with you. Tony, it's always good to hear from you, because you've got the not only the hindsight but the foresight to really tell us what happened in the past and what's coming up on the horizon. God bless you and Mary. Thank you so much.
Okay.
You
Thanks,
bet.
Deb. Bye.
Hey, caller number 2, stay with me just a minute. I got to get these words in. I know you'll appreciate that I got to pay some bills. Keep the lights on. Don't forget Dino's Septic Service over in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, these are good folks. Liquid waste removal, sewer and sink drain lines clean. You don't want to do that. Septic tanks pumped. I don't want to do that, but they do it, and they do it fast, fair, and friendly service with a smile. They recently purchased Dennis Dockstetter's pumping service, and they've got bigger, better, all to serve you, the public, right here in southern Idaho. So give them a call in Rupert at 436-6526, in Burley 678-1638. Dino's Septic Service with the truck called Smells Cargo on the way. You be sure and give them a call today. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zebediah, how are you this morning?
Well, Roberto, what have you got cooking on the pot this morning?
Well, you know, we live in a crazy world, and I'm going to add to it. If the world was logical, men would ride side saddle.
You know, Bob, there are times that you make me back up from my microphone, look at it, and worry if there will be a tomorrow.
Well, there'll be a tomorrow.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Your insight, I'm going to put you in a white flowing robe, and I'm going to march you up on top of Mount Harrison as the guru of Magic Valley. Thank you.
Promise?
Yeah, barefoot in the snow.
Have a good day, Zebediah. Bye.
Okay. Only Bob. Thank you. Calls are welcome at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk to the seniors out there in the audience for a minute. You know, I hope that you're not living alone. I hope you're not taking the risk of staying in your house all alone and all the hazards and possible injuries and, pardon me, not maybe having the best of nutrition and the best of meals and possibly saying, oh, well, who cares anymore? I won't take my medication. Don't do that. I know a place that you can go to that absolutely offers the ability for seniors to maintain their independence, both safely and comfortably, and it'd be like living at home. And that's Pomerel Place, a place for senior living at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. The number I urge you to call and find out more, 677-8212. Pomerel Place, a place for senior living. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also, real quick, and then I want to talk about the FBI. This is absolutely ridiculous. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. My goodness, they basically got me back up on my feet. You know, I was dinged up pretty good, and I didn't know if my one good leg was ever going to come back, and they helped me a bunch. I walked a whole bunch of miles in the bottom of that hydrotherapy pool, and along with their exercises, yep, I am back. I am back, and I feel really good. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. The number to call, Nick Greenwell and all of the physical therapists to help you, 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Whether you're recouping from surgery or a slip and fall on the ice or whatever, please, I urge you to give them a call. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. Yeah, you know, growing up, you know, everybody, I remember I had a little FBI cap gun, and everybody respected and sincerely feared, I think, the FBI. But right now, they are looking at a disgusting mess at the top of their hierarchy. 98% of the FBI probably still is as straight as an arrow and honest and diligent. But it looks like the hierarchy of the FBI is in chaos, lying, cheating, and cover-up. And they're not helping themselves. They keep taking one of their FBI guns and shooting themselves in the foot. It was bad enough that the dog ate my homework, so to speak, with the Hillary investigation on some of the emails. And now, oops. I mean, they're putting a big capital oops out in front of the American public, thinking we are gullible enough to understand and believe this. The FBI, capable of finding out facts and information more so than any other group in the world, and oops, they lost 5 months of over 50,000 texts from a couple of their agents and others in what looks like a concentrated effort to destroy the Trump campaign. Oops. And they're saying, well, isn't that a coincidence? I'll be doggone. Well, we lost all these text messages. And we're supposed to buy that. It's like with the Hillary information. Oops. Son of a gun. We haven't got it. It's gone. We don't know what happened. And then, oops, 50,000. I'm not making that number up, folks. 50,000 texts are gone. And the FBI right next to their name, they've got the great big word, oops, darn. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hell, I think they all should be fired if that's how competent they are.
Okay, but now, wait a minute. You own a business, all right? And you've got to keep things on the straight and narrow. If you do something or I do something that's illegal, boy, they're going to be on us like a cat to a plate of milk, and they will find the information with the technocracy today available, and they're going to get the bad guys. Wait a minute. What if the bad guys are part of the FBI?
That's exactly it right there. Just another example, if you or I was to file a tax return and they had come in for an audit and we say, well, I don't know what happened. My computer hiccuped and I lost these 6 months of these receipts that I'm claiming.
Yeah.
They would, oh, that's okay. Never mind. We'll just look the other way.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we, the people, need to do the same to them.
Well, let me tell you something about the IRS and the FBI. I am absolutely a person that knows of the ineptness and the absolute amateurism of the IRS. I went through that with them just this last year over a bill of such a minor proportion, and it was never my bill. It was proven that it was never my bill, and it took them 2.5 months to finally say, I guess we made a mistake.
Yeah. One thing with the government, people are raised up to a level of incompetency, and that's where they stay.
But you know, Doug, you and I both know, Doug, that growing up, and you're not that much younger than I am, you remember the respect and the prestige, and yes, even the fear of the FBI. And now today it's almost turned into a laughingstock because of what they did to themselves at the top.
Exactly. You know, it's a felony if we lied to the FBI.
Oh, yeah.
But what happens if the FBI lies to us? Shouldn't it still be a felony?
Well, so far, I guess in answer to your question, nothing's happening to the FBI.
Well, it should be the same. The door should swing two ways.
Well, lately, as you can well see, it's easy, too easy, and unfortunately it does not get punished like Hillary with her server and the emails, Huma Abedin and her staff, her husband, all these people connected to the Clinton administration. Gee, I haven't seen too many court cases where the judge is saying, with the gavel being slammed down, you are sentenced to prison for 50 years. I'm not seeing any of this. And now the FBI says, oops, again, we lost 50,000 texts. I don't know about you, but I'm not buying this.
No, I'm not buying it either. And these people that have lied to him, everybody that listens to the news objectively knows that Hillary done some illegal stuff. They know Abedin done some illegal stuff. They know Bill Clinton, when he was in the White House and lied under oath, that but yet nothing happened to them. They think they are above the law, and that needs to stop.
Let me ask you one quick question, and it's ironic, both days in a row that you've called. I've got to get my hard break at the bottom of the hour, but I want to ask you this quickly. It has been mentioned, and it has been suggested, I'm not saying it's bona fide proof, but it's been suggested that maybe with this memo that is being surveyed right now and possibly going to be opened up for the public scrutiny by the end of this week going into next, that there is some very, very shady works going on with even a secret society within the FBI and other branches of government. And Adam Schiff of California, a Democrat, said last night, I don't think that information of that memo should be given to the American public because basically they're not smart enough to understand it. What are your thoughts on that?
Adam Schiff needs to wake up. He thinks they're smarter than us just because they lied to us and got elected.
Why is it?
They would do this. I mean, it's unheard of. It leaves me speechless on what I think of the man.
Well, let me ask you this though. It tells me, honestly, that politicians, and I'm not saying all politicians. I don't want somebody to say, "Well, you all encompassed everybody." No, I am not. But it tells me that Adam Schiff and a member of the Democratic Party, a so-called, what he thinks he is an elite member of politics. He thinks that he is smarter than his constituents and that no information that might be damning should be shared. And I find that a political person that should be thrown out of office.
Okay, well, look at it this way. When you walk into rooms, say you're in an area where there's a lot of cockroaches, you walk into a room, you turn on a light, what happens?
They scurry.
Scatter.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to happen here. We need to shine the light of day on this. And I've also heard, too, that there was only one Democrat went and read this.
Yeah.
You have to sign in when you go in. You can read it. No photographs, no anything. But only one Democrat has signed in to read it.
All I'm saying is, Doug, that if our society is on the verge of a collapse because of manipulation of the truth and fraudulent statements and illegalities, we had better start cleaning house right now because the house, the cornerstone of our house, is about ready to crumble.
Right. And the question keeps getting asked, why are these guys in the FBI known what we know about them? Why are they still on the payroll?
There you go. I got to run. I am so late, it's beyond late. Thanks, Doug.
Okay, everybody, let's take care of our senior centers.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Thank you. I got to get this in here. My goodness, Alex and the rest of the folks, Kyle and them, all of them are sitting there going, hey, where's our ad? Well, it's right here. I'm sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I want to tell you about the urgent cares. Now, they do so much to help you and your family and your business with health care. Don't forget 3 locations. Riverview Urgent Care at 382 North Overland in Burley. Urgent Care of Twin Falls at 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin. And Urgent Care of Jerome at 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. And, providing you services like to take care of all your cuts and your sprains and your strains and your fractures and care for the whole family and for the businesses, drug screening and pre-employment physicals, they're there. They're there to serve you and try to keep healthcare costs down. They're open 7 days a week, and you get treated, not seated. So be really aware that they're there to serve you. Urgent Cares, Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Urgent Care of Jerome, and Urgent Care of Twin Falls. All right, give me a call, please, at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Like to hear from you. Give me a jingle. This story, it really irritates me this morning, and it goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the program with that little 3-year-old boy that was standing so tall and so proud. That picture brought tears to my eyes. And I have got that picture thanks to my dear friend John Bond, and it's going to stay in my office forever. But did you hear what the NFL did to a veterans group, American Veterans, a nonprofit group that was started by World War II servicemen. These service vets were asked by the NFL if they wanted to put an ad of patriotism in the Super Bowl. Okay. Well, they said they would. And the ad was about the players kneeling during the national anthem. And the NFL rejected the ad. And here's what one of the NFL spokespeople said: "It has never been a place for advertising that could be considered by some as a political statement." Now think about that. Think about that. And these are my own thoughts and opinions on this morning. They're saying, the NFL is saying that, well, we don't want to accept any ad material that might be of a political nature or be a political statement. What are these football players doing when they take a knee or sit during the national anthem? They are creating, forming, and showing a political statement against our country and respect for our flag. Oh, it's okay for them. But the American Veterans Association, this nonprofit group that I said started in World War II, they wanted to run an ad that all of us should stand tall and proud for our country and our flag. And the NFL turned it down and said, well, no, that would be a political statement. What a farce. All the more reason where I will publicly come out and damn the NFL, not all the players, as I stated the other day, and it's hard for me to say this, the Minnesota Vikings, arch rival of my Green Bay Packers, never once this season did any player take a knee or sit during the national anthem. So kudos to the Vikings. But to the other players that have taken a knee or sat with disrespect, thanks to the likes of lowly Colin Kaepernick, I find you disgusting. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, excuse me a second. Our veteran group, they volunteer their time to do good for the country and to honor the country all the time. They do funerals for past veterans that have died, for the families. They get nothing for it. They pay their own gas. They furnish their own clothes. They do the whole thing out of their own pocket. They do it because they love the country and they love the other veterans around. When somebody starts knocking them, that kind of irks me off a little bit. The other thing I wanted to call about was the fact that we have not set a budget yet.
Yes.
I think our Congress and our Senate are disgracing our country by not doing this.
I'm going to be asking...
It's been done 2 years ahead.
Yeah.
And it's terrible, terrible, horrible, awful that they don't take care of the job they've been paid to do, and they're paid way more than I feel they're worth. I think they're worth about $2 a day.
Okay,
the work they're doing, because it's pretty darn poor.
All right, Jerry, I tell you what, next hour I'm going to be talking to Senator Crapo about this. I appreciate your comments, as always, my dear friend. God bless you, and thank you for calling.
And God bless you and your whole audience, and may you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Zeb. I just kind of want to add my 2 cents on that stance that the NFL is taking, and it just sounds exactly like, hey, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. I think that the NFL is going to regret that they have turned down the ad for the AmVets, and American Veterans said, quote, with a spokesman from their group, that AmVets believes people should stand for the national anthem. We don't insist that they must, and we don't vilify them if they don't, but we ask them to stand in respect of our anthem. And these players, overpaid...
Ever since Goodell has been in as commissioner and what have you, it seems like it's been one thing after another.
I agree.
It's not, because I go far enough back that I remember from Pete Rozelle on up to Tagliabue and everybody, and there really wasn't that big of an issue on things as this Goodell idiot is doing.
You know, sir, I think your hindsight is really, really on track, because I don't think, this is speculation on my point and also yours, but I think you and I agree that if Pete Rozelle were still the commissioner of the NFL, this garbage would not have happened.
I know, and if Rozelle, despite all maybe the qualms and the false, that he had done on this and that, and I know he made a few. He was a guy that stood right up, and that's the way it was. He was a straightforward guy compared to what we've had since.
I agree with you. I think Roger Goodell is one of the overpaid, underworked people in the NFL that has done more to hurt the brand than he ever has done anything good for it. Thank you for your call this morning.
You betcha. Have a great morning.
All right, sir. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your phone call, I would like to also remind you about some dear friends of ours that have been on our program, again, for a long, long time. Barry Equipment and Rental. Sales, service, and parts, and they've got 3 locations. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Hello, Juan. And 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and up in Nampa. Holy cow. They are Idaho's premier Bobcat and Doosan equipment sales, service, and parts rental dealership. And talking about Bobcats, oh my goodness, they've got all shapes and sizes, new and used, for sale or rent. So get in there today at any one of those locations. Don't forget, equipment rentals, retail equipment sales, Barry Equipment and Rental in Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa, serving you. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I'd like to talk to you about anything and everything that comes across your mind this morning. Let's see what else is in the news. Oh, this was really, really dangerous for the state of Alaska. Now, unless something else has transpired within the last 45 minutes since I went on the air, the warnings about huge 30 to 40-foot tsunami waves has been canceled. What happened was, last night, a volcano in Japan erupted. And it was so big in seismic activity, it was 7.9 on the Richter scale, and it caused severe warnings in Alaska for people to get to higher ground. I know they had their state police and everybody out warning people to get to higher ground, because they were told by the meteorologists and everybody else that and seismologists that it was going to create 30 to 40-foot tsunami waves that were going to hit in the Anchorage area and other places. But I understand they've called that off. They have canceled that big warning, but a 7.9 earthquake, that is a big one, a real big one, hitting Japan at a ski resort area, an old volcano at a ski resort area. All right, let's get a weather forecast on here, brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids and the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology. And I want to remind you, too, that they really bring advanced diagnostic capabilities to this Mini-Cassia area. And with the new testing ability, they can help diagnose one of the biggest causes of vertigo. And please don't forget to provide follow-up testing to infants who fail the newborn hearing screening after their birth. They can do all of that. They are dedicated to helping and serving you. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, and the number 312-0957. Here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like that little storm front has moved past us. Today and tomorrow going to be nice, but Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, well, looks like another storm front's moving in. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly sunny skies for today, a little on the breezy side. Winds out of the southwest, right around 7 to 10 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 40 for today. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, below 28. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 45. More clouds rolling in for Wednesday night, mostly cloudy skies with a low right near 35. Now for Thursday, snow showers are likely mostly before noon, mostly cloudy skies with a high of 38. About an 80% chance of snow showers, new accumulations less than an inch possible. For Thursday night, that snow shower could continue mostly before midnight, low right near 23. And then for Friday, 30% chance of snow showers, mostly cloudy skies, high of 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you, Gina. Brought to everybody by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Call for a hearing screening today, and the number 312-0957. I'll repeat that, 312-0957. All right, callers, you're up. Give me a call, please. 436-2244-1, 866-927-4587. Don't forget Lunch Bunch this Thursday at Denny's Restaurant America's Diner. Yes, sirree, Bobby, at 11:30. Denny's. Everybody be there, okay? Did you happen to catch... Oh, I'll get back to that in a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning, Zeb. Phone's been ringing here, and I haven't had a chance to hear your program much, but I'm really concerned about Speaker Bedke. Seems hell-bent for leather to have a conference of states, an Idaho call for a conference of states, which will be a constitutional convention. And he's got some high-powered Harvard lawyer or whatever coming in to speak to the legislature for 2 hours. He's canceling all committee meetings that day, and on February the 9th. And apparently there's something that they're supposed to read before he comes. I mean, this is an abuse of power, number one, to basically cancel all the committee meetings for that day, and to have this guy coming in. I wonder who's paying for that, probably us taxpayers. But he needs to be taken to the woodshed, Zeb.
Well, what about, let me ask you this, Adrian. Let me ask you this, and I'm going to be very blunt and succinct about this, because next week I will have Speaker of the House Scott Bedke on my program at 9:30 for the legislative update. But have you called him on this? Have you called up there, put a call in, and tried to talk to him about this?
Oh, I've talked to him for an hour on the phone, not this year yet. I've sent him all kinds of information, so has many of my friends. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I sent him a personal letter with a lot of information, because I'm not sure about the email messages. They get them all, but I sent him a personal letter containing documentation. Chief Justice Warren Berger warned about a constitutional convention. Even a professor at the University of Idaho has said there's nothing that will keep it to a one-item agenda. In fact, in the Constitution, it says amendments. And all the law professors said it could be a runaway convention. We don't know how the delegates, if they're based on population, maybe the states, you get the number of votes that you have in the electoral college. All of that would be determined. And so it's just throwing the Constitution basically in the garbage can. And I would like to know why Speaker continues to push this thing. There's millions of dollars. George Soros is involved in it, and everybody says, no. But through his Wolfpack group, he definitely is putting tremendous amounts of money in that. He wants to get his hands on the Constitution, and we know he's an enemy of America. And so why Speaker is pushing this thing, he's using abuse of power of his position. He needs to be really taken to the woodshed and asked why he is doing this and the dangers involved. We only had one other constitutional convention, was to revise the Articles of Confederation. And believe me, this thing could be a wide-open affair, and I doubt whether the conservatives would control the agenda. It would be a disaster for this country.
I tell you what I'm going to do, Adrian, is right after this program, and I'm not going to speak for Speaker Bedke, and I'm not going to speak against any situation. I'm going to call, and we're going to find out more, and then, like I said, he will be on our program next Tuesday at 9:30, and we'll have more, and I'll look forward to possibly your call to ask him this on the air in a respectful nature, and we'll go from that juncture. How's that?
Well, that sounds fine. He just needs. I just wondered where he's coming from, because
I have given him every kind of evidence to show that this is a bad deal. Even from our own faculty on the University of Idaho and so forth. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And I appreciate that opportunity. I'll mark on my calendar next Tuesday at 9:30.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
I've got it on my calendar right now.
Thank you, Adrian. Always look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I started to say something a minute ago, and by the way, calls are welcome. But I saw an interview last night, and I do not remember what station it was on. I was going through all the dials of the news channels and everything. And it was about, this woman was a dyed-in-the-wool liberal that absolutely was against men being men and projecting that image of strong family leader, etc., and women being women and in the house as housewives, moms, etc. She absolutely was denigrating more or less the men more so, and was absolutely against the attitude of men being the dynamic leaders, men being the leaders of their household, men being leaders in the community. Wait a minute. Nobody is saying that women should be subservient. Nobody is saying they can't run for public office. Nobody is saying that they can't be as effective at the various jobs as men can. But it was this attitude of the wussification. I'll use that word, the wussification of men. And she didn't like the John Wayne attitude. Oh, boy. Men are tough, men are going to be the defenders of the family and the household, etc. She didn't like that at all. She just wanted a nation of wusses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. And that's what they've been after ever since they started in school with the kids, when they're, instead of letting boys be boys and girls be girls, where they're trying to get them all into one area and all of them to act the same.
It's a unisex society that they're pushing for. And, you know, Doug, honestly, I'm really, really concerned about the younger generation coming up. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's being pushed upon them not to be the leaders of the family, not to be the protectors of the family, not to be strong, and not to be a tall gentleman that if need be, he won't be pushed, but yet he'll bend over to help somebody. I think the attitude of men is changing, and I'm sick of it.
Me too. And to all the parents out there with boys, you're not raising a man. You're raising a future husband and a father, and raise him as such.
You know, and I sit here and I'm mulling over your words, and I'm thinking of various circumstances, and look at the TV sitcoms. We've talked about this many times in the past. They are so repulsive, I can honestly tell the audience this morning that my wife and I refuse. We have never turned on anything in prime time to watch on the major networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC, for at least 5 years.
Yeah. I like the old ones, like Father Knows Best.
Yeah.
And the old.
How do you think that would go over today, Doug? How do you think Ozzie and Harriet and Father Knows Best would go over today?
It wouldn't fly.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let it. They would be protesting in the streets.
Yeah.
But you know, one thought, too, if the liberals don't believe in biological gender, you know, you're who you feel you are, then why are they marching for women's rights?
That's a good point. That is a good point. You know, the sickness and the perverse attitude in this country has been taken over by the liberal left, and I, for one, will not abide by it. You'll never hear me do the political correctness on my program, and I know that you won't abide by it either. And if they don't like it, you know what? They've got the option of turning the dial.
Exactly. So, but anyway, I just had to call back and touch on that with the liberal deal. And remember, everybody, let's do what we can for our seniors.
Absolutely.
I mean, they are the ones with their sweat and their lost my train of thought there. And their hard work built this country.
Amen. Got to run.
They're reaping the benefits. So let's take care of them. Let's sign up. Let's do what we can. Donate. Let's just help them out.
All right, Doug, thank you. Right now, I got to tell everybody about my major sponsor, and that is, of course, your Les Schwab Tire Centers. Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We're doing the right thing matters. Absolutely, they've got all the traction tires for your car, pickup, SUV, tires like the City R202, the Terramax, the Winter Cat, all of these tires. And along with the best in tire chains, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. And don't forget, they have highly trained technicians that are brake technicians for the best in brake service. All of this and more because doing the right thing matters. And they care. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run. News next. I'll be back in 7. Oh, good morning on a Tuesday. Zeb at the Ranch, and of course with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, Nick Greenwell and the crew at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We're going to have our next guest with us momentarily, but right now I also want to remind you about our friends at Western Way Services. Wheels, play the jingle. Thank you.
The canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
Western Way Services, yes, it is true. They are always at your disposal. Give them a call, 734-6969. And if you need one of the dumpsters, maybe to clean out your basement, your garage, or my office, get them in various sizes. Fill them up. They'll come get them. Absolutely. Always at your disposal, the best. Western Way Services, 734-6969. Right now, let's check over with Wheels. Wheels, do we have United States Senator Mike Crapo on the line?
Yes, sir, we do.
All right, thank you very much. And a good morning to our Idaho United States Senator Mike Crapo. Sir, good morning. How are you?
I am well. Good morning, Zeb.
It is a pleasure to have you on the program, and I'm going to get right down to the crux of the matter. I don't know how much time you have, but I'm going to make a statement.
10 minutes.
Okay, well, I'm going to hurry. I'm going to ask you this, and it's in the form of a statement also. As far as DACA and the Dreamers are concerned, I believe that myself and most of my audience does not want them here on an illegal basis with their families, etc. And when they're jumping ahead in line over and above illegal immigration, this has got to stop. Where is your stand on the settlement of the problem with DACA and the Dreamers?
Well, first of all, I agree with the point that no one should be able to jump in line ahead of anyone else in the immigration system. That's one of the big problems we have in our system, is that we allow those who have entered the country illegally to gain an advantage towards citizenship because of their illegal entry into the country. And I believe that any system should make sure that people have to get in line along with everyone else and gain no entry and no advantage from that. That being said, the DACA children present a specific case in which I think there is a justification for allowing them to get into a process to have an opportunity to seek citizenship. And I think that should be, as we've said, they should be allowed, but should get in line and have their applications processed appropriately.
Okay, but Mike, you know as well as I do that the left and the media are portraying all the DACA students as students, and also some that are just absolutely going to be great citizens, rocket scientists, math teachers, etc. You know that's not the case, many of which have been involved in a lot of felonies, many of which are gang members. I think there needs to be a scrutiny on a case-by-case basis. Am I wrong?
No, that's right, and that's why, if people are required, those who apply for citizenship are required to get in line and follow the lawful process of obtaining citizenship, those kinds of circumstances can and will be identified. And in fact, one of the situations that we are actually, it's surprising to me, but we are actually having some conflict over getting it resolved here, is that many of us are saying that as we address fixing part of our immigration system, we need to put into place provisions that those who commit crimes, those who are unlawful as they are present in our nation, cannot have the benefit of being granted citizenship, and in fact should be subject to losing their privileges. And that's a part of the Cates Law that has been put forward, arising out of the young woman who was killed by a person who was illegally in the country and had already been convicted of several violent crimes. And so we want to deal with those issues and should deal with those issues. And that's unfortunately part of the battle back here.
Mike, we just went through 3 days of a shutdown, and everybody was finger-pointing, it's your fault, etc. The Democrats caved. I thought they should have. They were seeing a light come at them. It was a train coming at them head-on. Is this going to happen again on February 8th, or are these problems going to be taken care of?
Well, I wish I could predict that accurately, but let me tell you, this last one was completely manufactured by Chuck Schumer and his Democratic caucus in the United States Senate. They had no reason to push this to a government shutdown. Everything in the bill that they objected to was something that they agreed to. And they decided, for political purposes, in my opinion, to create a shutdown by trying to attach the DACA immigration issue that we've just been discussing to this bill. And the Republicans have been working with Democrats for months now to negotiate and do a DACA bill. It wasn't like the Republicans weren't willing to work on DACA. They just wanted to put it on this bill and make an issue out of it and do it in a way that rejected some of the things that were being negotiated. And it was just a ploy, and I sure hope they don't try that same ploy again.
Senator, let me ask you this question quickly. What about the nuclear option of 51 votes? Is it high time that you as Republicans that control the House, the Senate, and the Oval Office started exercising more power to get the job done for us?
Well, I'm getting close to that, although I'll tell you, there are some really bad downsides to doing that. And there's some other ideas being put out that maybe not going all the way to just eliminating the filibuster, but doing some things like, it takes about 3 days to, even when we can defeat filibusters, as we can on nominations now, because of Harry Reid's nuclear option, it still takes about 3 days under the rules to get those votes all done. And if you take 3 days on every nomination, it makes it hard to do all the nominations, and it makes it hard to do all the business. If we were to reduce the time that it takes to process a filibuster, we probably would solve a significant amount of the problem. So at this point in time, I'm in favor of taking some of those preliminary steps to dramatically change the process in the Senate, but still maintaining the filibuster, because I'll tell you, it's going to be a very, very damaging thing if we do that at some point in our future.
Okay, now, like Larry the Cable Guy, Senator, get her done. What about tax reform and the budget? Are you, as partisan politics, Republicans versus Democrats and vice versa, how far apart are we on getting this done?
Well, you'll remember the tax debate. We had to do it essentially with Republican votes. We will almost certainly have to do the budget similarly, although we are starting to get agreement from some of the Democrats to help us, and we just don't know. It's going to take 9 or 10 of them or more, because, we always lose a couple Republicans. But if we got 10 or more Democrats to come with us, we might be able to put a budget deal together. And there's a shot at that, Zeb. I don't want to stand here and tell you it's going to happen because I don't have a strong confidence in that, but I believe there's a good chance that we might be able to put a deal together, and that deal would dramatically strengthen our military, but continue our commitment to restricting the explosive growth of the government and getting toward a pathway to balance. It would also, by the way, include money for the wall and money for some of the other critical things that conservatives and many, many other Americans really want to see our government focusing on.
Let me ask you this, Senator. How much more time do we have before you have to run?
Oh, really? I apologize about maybe one more minute.
Okay, well, I'm going to quickly ask you this, and it's a simple question. Does leadership, i.e. Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, etc., do they have too much power and really are leading sometimes their party down the wrong road?
I don't think so, and I know that very many people believe that. The reality is that senators are very, very strong-willed individuals. And when people, let's take Chuck Schumer as an example, he's able to do the things he does because he has a majority of his senators mandating and telling him and driving him to do it. It's not that he's driving them, it's that they are driving him. And that actually means it's a bigger problem than just one person. It's a lot of people in that caucus. And you could say the same thing about our caucus. When our caucus moves, it's not because Mitch McConnell told us that this is how we have to do it. It's because we had a majority consensus in our caucus to take a certain stand or to move in a certain direction.
Absolutely. Senator, I appreciate the time this morning. We've got to do this more often to maybe take some outside phone calls. But Senator Mike Crapo, thank you so much for being on the program, and God bless, and we'll have you back in the near future.
Thank you, Zeb. I really enjoy these opportunities.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I know that Wheels had taken a call, and I'll take that call now, caller. I'm sorry, but we just didn't have the time, and I don't want to push you off the air and not take your call, so go ahead, please.
You're perfectly fine, sir. He hung up.
All right.
I just let him know that Senator only had 10 minutes, so I figured you weren't taking any outside.
Yeah, we were under the gun to get what little bit we could in there. You probably could tell, was out of air and running to another meeting back there on the Senate floor, and so I appreciate that. Calls are welcome, though, at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, as I just about tipped over everything on my desk. All is well. Good morning. Give us a call. While I'm waiting for your call, I also want to remind you about Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward and his family and his staff, serving you and your family to help you with all the arrangements when there's the passing of a loved one. Yes, always treating you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They care, and they will help you. I urge you to give them a call at 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. All of us should call them and find out about the pre-planning of funerals, and they can help with special information for you. Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward in Rupert, and also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Don't forget, in just a few minutes, we're going to have our dear friend, Representative Fred Wood, on the program, and he's going to tell us all about what's going on up at the legislative session, and our thanks to our sponsor, Handy Truck Lines with Clay Handy. We'll tell you more about that in just a few minutes. Like I said, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. On Thursday, on Thursday of this week, we are going to have Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant. Don't forget that. Every month, we have a gathering at Denny's with our Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we have between 50 and 75 people. It's great. We'd love to have you be a part of it. Starts at 11:30, and we want to say thank you to Denny's Restaurant and Walmart and Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, all of these folks. Doug Martin's always there to chip in with something. And it's just a big fun deal, so try to put it on your calendar for this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, Zeb's Lunch Bunch. You know what? I know where you can go and really check out some great mattresses at low, low prices, and you get 2 years interest-free on your payments. Listen to this. They've got queen box sets for $29 a month. They've got premium pillow top, $59 a month. And they've got the diamond plush sets for $79 a month. 2 years interest-free at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Yes, at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley. It is time to think and do. Out with the old, in with the new, and your comfort is very important. So check out all these mattress sets at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More in Burley. Absolutely. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also want to remind you about our dear friends at Let's Ride. While I'm waiting for your phone call, come on, callers, give me a call. You were really good about it last hour. Give me another call this morning. And Let's Ride with all the snowmobiles and the four-wheelers and the side-by-sides. And, boy, they've got a showroom that is just absolutely chock full of fun. Fun! And a great accessory department. And don't forget, all of this backed up by a super service department, best service department around to keep you running. Get outside and enjoy Southern Idaho, whether it's in the wintertime with the snowmobiles or in the spring and summer and fall with the four-wheelers. They've got them all. They've got them all at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. Let's Ride. It's true. It's where the fun is sold. All right, now it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I had a couple of public service announcements I wanted to get on. One in particular that is very important for Valentine's Day. It's a dinner at the Minidoka County Senior Center. And it's going to be held on February the 10th. And the reason I'm starting so early with this, they only have 75 advance tickets to be sold. No tickets will be sold at the door, they said. And you get your choice of steak or salmon. And the number to call, 436-9107. That number again, without the cough, 436-9107, and they're going to have raffles and everything else. So that's a Valentine's dinner at the Minidoka County Senior Center on February the 10th, and tickets are $18 each. It starts at 6 o'clock in the evening, so don't you miss it. Going to be a lot of fun. Valentine's Day right around the corner. Oh, by the way, too, over in Rupert, I want to say a big shout-out to some friends of mine, and they've served our family, Deanna and myself, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more for you, your family, and your business from our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Now, that number to call, 436-4424. Number again, 436-4424. Very dedicated and responsive to your needs. All you have to do is make the appointment. They'll do the rest. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert. My, time for a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. What are your thoughts, and I'm going to ask Fred about this in just a minute, what are your thoughts about a new bill that would change Idaho voter registration requirements? Excuse me. And you wouldn't have to disclose your gender while registering to vote under a proposed bill introduced yesterday at the Idaho State House. I'm against this. I think there needs to be polling, and there needs to be somewhat of a men voted for this, men felt this way, women felt that way. I don't think you can do service to the state of Idaho and its constituents without really knowing where they stand on a gender basis on various issues. I am against trying to fold and cave to various factions that don't want to have gender listed, or if that's the case, they want to list a third gender. That's ridiculous and asinine. There are only two genders, and that's the way it should be. But I think a lot of times people should know and or realize how male and females feel about certain issues, and I just don't think this is absolutely necessary to take away this voter registration requiring male or female. I think it's important to know much of that information. House Assistant Majority Leader Brent Crane of Nampa and Representative Heather Scott of Blanchard voted against getting rid of the gender designation, and I like what Scott Crane said. Or, pardon me, what Heather Scott said. She said, I'm just concerned. I think that's valuable information. I'm concerned why you would make this decision rather than add another category. Well, we'll talk to, if we have time, we'll talk to Fred Wood about that in just a very few minutes. Have time for one call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. I would like to hear from you. While I'm waiting for your call, let's go ahead and tell you about our dear friends at Ark Animal Hospital. And they're located at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. You know, Dr. Bill and the crew over at Ark Animal Hospital, they have been voted Minnecacha's best veterinary hospital numerous times. And they're telling you that if you got a puppy for Christmas or you have puppies now at home, now is the time to get the current pyro vaccines. Very, very important, and it can be deadly if you don't do this. And also, February, next month, is teeth cleaning month at Ark Animal Hospital. And remember, take your dogs in there, make an appointment right now to have their teeth cleaned, and you'll get 20% off. Okay? Ark Animal Hospital, a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They do love them all, and they're located at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Ark Animal Hospital, 678-1177. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. All right, your call is welcome at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wheels, what did you do? Hang up the phone over there? What's going on, old buddy?
I feel like with it being already Tuesday, everybody's, just busy and everything, but I'm still watching the phone for Fred Wood to call in.
All right, well, I'll tell you something. You know, Wheels, we've got a special new segment that's going to be starting on our program this coming Thursday at about 9:17, and it's going to be all about the people and the different departments at Cassia Regional Hospital, and you're going to be kind of the quarterback to make sure all that gets played when it should be played, and I just want to thank all the folks over there at Cassia Regional. They've been so good to give us all the information and get all the people don't know all the different departments that are available and the personnel, and we're going to try to personalize this a little bit every Thursday with a special show highlighting Cassia Regional Hospital, and you're the man that's going to be the quarterback over there.
That sounds good. It's going to be interesting to learn about the different departments and stuff like that at that hospital. So, it's definitely going to be a lesson.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you and I are not strangers to hospitals. We kind of understand that pretty good, don't we?
Yeah, I'd say me and you got it tacked down. But,
all right.
Like I said, it's going to be interesting because I only know so much about a hospital, even though I've been there multiple times. So just kind of being able to learn what goes behind the scenes, will be quite interesting.
All right, buddy. Hey, we're getting ready right now to have Fred Wood, Representative Fred Wood, on our program. Hopefully he's going to be calling in momentarily. If not, Wheels is going to get a hold of him. And I want to give a great big shout-out to Handy Truck Lines at 400 West, 100 South of Paul and Clay Handy. Handy Truck Lines was established way back in 1928, and the founder, of course, Leo Handy. And the family has been so helpful in the Magic Valley, and the fifth-generation family management, and Clay Handy has served as a city councilman, and believe me, Handy Truck Lines steps up to the plate, and they really want you to know what's going on at our Idaho legislative session. And Handy Truck Lines provides transportation services to Idaho and the surrounding states, with terminals in Pocatello, Meridian, and also Salt Lake City, Utah. And they're very proud and pleased to be serving the businesses in the communities as they begin their 90th year in operation. Handy Truck Lines bringing you our segment called the Idaho Legislative Update. And right now, let's go to the phone line and see if we have Representative Fred Wood on the phone.
He's going to be calling in here in just about a second. I just got a hold of him, and he's going to try to call in on the landline, so on that way the cell phone's not interrupting anything.
Okay, well, Wheels, I appreciate that. We've got a lot of questions to ask him about here this morning. And I want to remind you, tomorrow on the program, we're going to have Dave Bego, Richard Manning, and also the Pacific Legal Foundation talking about some of their cases with the Supreme Court, especially the one on water rights. And we're going to be talking to them tomorrow on the program. Hopefully, Representative Fred Wood is there. How about it, Wheels? Has he called in?
He hasn't called in yet.
This is called spinning for time right now as we wait patiently for our representative to give us a call. This program is going to feature primarily Senator Kelly Anthon, Representative Fred Wood today, and next week we have been received word that Speaker of the House Scott Bedke will be on the program. And then also during this legislative update, we're going to have some other dignitaries call in during this time slot to talk about what's happening at the legislative session for 2018. Is he there? Please say yes.
He's not, but I'll go ahead and try to call him back on his cell phone.
All right, thank you. Tell him it's an emergency. We're ready to go. And your calls are also welcome at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Again, a reminder that this Thursday is Lunch Bunch Day at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, and special gift certificate drawings. We got a lot of gifts to give away from Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, and, of course, Stokes Groceries. And thank you. Everybody try to be there at Denny's, 611 North Overland in Burley for our lunch bunch. And I wait patiently. All right, we have him, right?
We do, sir.
Woo! I was getting nervous. Fred, good morning. Representative Fred Wood, how are you?
I'm doing good. I couldn't make the landline work, so I'm on the cell phone here in my office, so hopefully the reception is good.
It is right now. Just don't move. I'm always scared of cell phones. Representative...
I am too. I don't know what's going on with the landline here, but anyway, we'll get that fixed for the next time.
All right. Well, Fred, I'm going to get right into it this morning. First and foremost, I want to ask you about the various things that you're working on up there, and then I want to get into some of the criticism against our legislative session by some of the other news media. But first and foremost, after about almost 2 weeks of work up at the State House, what's going on for you at the legislative session?
Well, for me personally, as chairman of the House Health and Welfare Committee, the big issue this session is going to be the dual waiver program that the Department of Insurance and the Department of Health and Welfare has come up with to try to get a bunch of the people in the GAP population that are not eligible or not currently eligible for Medicaid and not currently eligible to purchase insurance on the state exchange because of federal law, to get a federal waiver that would allow those folks to go to the state exchange and purchase their insurance on the state exchange And then the medically fragile in that group would be placed on Medicaid, which would be about 3,500 people. So that's going to be the big issue in front of the Health and Welfare Committee. The Resources Committee that I'm on is fairly quiet this year. I don't see any major water legislation. I don't see any major fish and game issues coming, or any parks and rec issues or anything. So that is the big issue here with respect to health and welfare. I think the big issue in the legislature overall is going to be the coming brouhaha on taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the federal efforts, Idahoans are actually going to receive a bit of a tax increase overall, about $70-80 million worth. And the fight is going to be whether to give the citizens tax relief associated with the grocery tax credit versus lowering the personal income tax and the state corporate tax. So that's going to be the biggest fight up here this year.
Representative Wood, you and I have been friends for a long time, and you've been very gracious to come on our program and discuss the various issues at any time, all the time, that they are prevalent for other people, your constituents, to hear about the problems. Some of the newspaper stories that have come out in our illustrious Times News have been very derogatory against our legislative session. One of the headlines was, Idaho's elitist legislature thinks it's above public scrutiny. And then of recent, another story, Idaho legislators are out of touch. And one of the paragraphs in that story was as follows: on almost every major issue, legislators are taking the state in the opposite direction of what Idahoans really want. How would you respond to those two newspaper stories?
Well, we don't have a week, so I'll try and take 5 minutes. Here's the issue that really bothers me about both of those articles, although I feel a little differently about both of them. But it seems to paint the legislature in a broad brush is that we're all not in touch with our citizens back home. Well, I would disagree with that. With respect to the Friday morning article about what the State Affairs Committee did in rejecting the interim committee's request for financial disclosure, I think that was extremely ill-advised on the part of the committee. You know, I chaired, along with Senator Lodge, the interim committee on campaign finance reform. That was a committee that the Speaker and the Pro Tem put together. We chaired that. There were 10 members there, and all 10 of us agreed that we needed more financial disclosure, and there is a second bill that is pending for campaign finance reform to plug up the holes so that people can't hide money when they spend money on candidates. Now, I thought that financial disclosure bill was very minimal. It was patterned after the Utah bill. Certainly the people on the interim committee felt that it was a good thing to do. And I think the thing that really bothered me about the legislative action is they wouldn't even introduce the bill for discussion. Zeb, they didn't even want to discuss that. Mm-hmm. The problem with the article in the Times News is it portrayed all of us as not wanting to do that.
That's right.
Well, I think you and the citizens of the Mini-Cassia area know Fred Wood better than that. I'm all about openness and transparency as far as I know, and I thought that was just a bad swipe at particularly the Speaker and myself, because the Speaker thought we should do it. He appointed me as chairman of the interim committee, and then in effect, that it didn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And there were probably other reasons that it didn't. The second article, the Sunday morning opinion page article, Zeb, I think they just simply got that flat wrong.
I agree.
By their own admission, 54.7% of the people in Idaho think that the state of Idaho is going in the right direction. And then to turn around and say that the legislature is trying to take us in the wrong direction, well, you know, the state is going in the direction that the legislature wants it to go, so more than half of the folks think we're going in the right direction. With respect to education spending, which was their biggest gripe, that we weren't spending anywhere near enough money on education. Zeb, we've spent more money on education in the last 3 years than we've ever spent in a 3-year period, as far as I know. And we've got 2 more years of significant increase in spending coming. It really concerns me, quite frankly, that we're even spending more money than we should be. I've harped at the folks on the education committees, et cetera, that I'm afraid we're getting out in front of our headlights a little bit, and if the economy ever turns sour, we're going to be in trouble. But we're spending a lot of money on education, and this article makes it sound like we're not.
Well, Fred,
that kind of bothers me quite a little bit.
Let me interrupt you here for a moment and ask a question, if I may.
And it's the same way.
Let me ask you a question on that, Fred. You and I have talked about this education funding for a long, long time on this radio program. And I have made the statement that I was very, very offended by some of the advertisements that were on television and radio denigrating the students' level of intellect as far as being dropped off in a desert by a school bus and they have nowhere to go. I do a weekly segment on the Cassia County school system, and I have been very, very impressed with the teachers, the courses, the way that the students are being taught and addressed on various subjects. I dare say that I think a lot of the naysayers don't know what they're talking about.
Well, I don't think they understand exactly. I don't think a lot of them understand how the school system works at all, to start with. But I think that, particularly in Cassia and Mendocino counties, our school systems do more with less money than almost any place in the United States. And true, every school district will have students that don't do that well. But if you look at the number of kids that go on from Cassia and Mendocino counties, et cetera, we're in good shape. Could we do better with getting more of them into professional technical schools and more of them into colleges and universities? Yes. I presume you could always want to go to 100%. But, Zeb, we do a great job, and our schools do a great job, and anybody that implies that they don't is wrong. You're correct. I mean, it's that simple.
Right. Let's talk about quickly before we run out of time a couple of other issues that you were the legislators were denigrated for being out of touch, and the other subject was health care and, of course, taxes. Please touch on those two areas.
Well, I'm not sure what they're talking about with taxes. It doesn't make sense. Most of our revenue is coming in from growth, Zeb, and when our population is growing as much as it is, we need to start spending a significant amount of money on infrastructure.
Right.
If you look at what they were complaining about taxes, but then you look at what people thought of the tax rate in the state of Idaho, a significant majority thought that the taxes were about right, give or take. Well, and we are one of the lowest taxed states in the United States based on per capita and based on percent of income. I don't know what they're talking about the dissatisfaction with that. It's true in human nature that if you ask humans, okay, so do you want lower taxes? Well, sure, everybody wants lower taxes. Do you want better roads? Yes. Do you want better health care? Yes. Do you want better education? Yeah. Well, all those things cost more money. I think most citizens in our area understand that there's a trade-off. And so I'm not sure what they were getting at, other than I think they were just harping. With respect to health care, Zeb, health care the most complex issue and one of the most expensive issues in the United States today. If it were easy, we would have done something. I've got that waiver program that I talked to you about that the Department of Insurance and Department of Health and Welfare came up with, and I'm not even sure I can get that bill out of committee. That's how controversial anything to do with health care is.
You know, when you talk about health care, and you and I have talked about this subject of Medicaid and the 70,000 plus people that are kind of caught between a rock and a hard spot and are demanding coverage, it's easy to demand something, but it's not very easy sometimes to supply it. Would you care to address that issue again?
Because supply depends upon a lot of money, and particularly if you're talking about health care, and so where are you going to get the money? The Idaho legislature has never committed itself to overspending, at least that I know of. That's why I worry about our education funding at this point in time. But we're not going to go down that road with health care. And until we can figure out how we can do this without imposing a liability on the state that the next downturn we can't support, that's the main bugaboo, and that's why we haven't found an answer yet.
Fred, do you think that these articles, and this is a speculative type question on my part, but do you think that these articles and some of the verbiage that they employed in these articles, like saying tone-deaf legislature, obstinate legislators, etc., was based upon a partisan criticism, or what are your thoughts on that?
You know, Zeb, I don't know. That would be a question for what their motives and intent were. I can tell you this: nobody does themselves good in an argument by starting to call people names, call people stupid, call people hard-headed, and any other sundry of names that we all know about. That would imply that we're not very smart, or we're not in touch, or we're not whatever. I didn't like the hyperbole here at all. I think that it wasn't fair, and I just think that it was poorly done.
You know, and it's always something that bothers me is that when you have editorials like this, you do not have the listing of the names of the editor or editors that wrote that article.
Well, and the other thing, when you talk about listing names, I wish they would have pointed out that the 10 members of the interim committee all supported this, and there was no members of the interim committee on the State Affairs Committee that actually wouldn't even introduce the bill for discussion. That's what really bothers me, because that implies, to some extent, to a reader that doesn't follow the legislature very well, that Fred Wood and Scott Betke and Kelly Anthon are part of the problem here.
Mm-hmm.
And Zeb, we're not. That's what bothers me.
Absolutely. You know, now let's look at the overall legislative session. You mentioned earlier some of the hot spots. You mentioned earlier some of the work that you're doing on your various committees. What do you think about the overall status of Idaho for 2018? Are you optimistic, or are there negatives and rocks in the road? What's going on?
I'm optimistic, Zeb. The economy is good. Therefore, state revenues are good. Therefore, we have the appropriate funding to do what needs to be done for the citizens. And I said what needs to be done, not necessarily all the wishes and wants that people have. So I feel optimistic, and I feel optimistic that in 19 and 20, if you can look that far down the road economically, that things are good. We're going to embark at the end of this year in a new administration in the state of Idaho. We will have a new governor. Don't know who that's going to be, but we will have a new governor. And we'll have a bunch of new department heads we're going to have significantly more retirement from the legislature than I thought we were going to have. So I think you're going to see a significant turnover in the legislature from retirements. I don't know whether that's going to turn out to be a good thing or a bad thing. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm optimistic. There's a good feeling up here. I think we can get out of here on time. I think we can get out of here without injuring the citizens and do well.
We have a caller with a question for you, Representative Wood. And caller, you're on the line. Quickly, we're short on time.
Well, you know, once we elect a governor here in Idaho, out of the 3 candidates, I know of 3 states that could use those other 2. And if we had another spare one, they could, California, Oregon, and Washington, when it comes to governors, they are a sorry lot. And we've got an abundance, apparently, so I'll hang up.
Please reply to the caller, if you would, Fred.
I guess I don't know how to respond to that. It is going to be an interesting gubernatorial race. We have 3, I think there's 6 people in that race, but there's 3 main candidates in that race. I think they all bring a fairly different perspective. And I think it's very important that the citizens of the state become very, very well educated about the differences and between those 3 main candidates and what those 3 main candidates really stand for and in what direction they would like to take the state.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important, Zeb.
Absolutely. Representative Wood, let me ask you one final question, and it's about the infrastructure, our roads, bridges, etc. Along with the federal government trying to come up with money for an increased look at infrastructure and reparation, what about here in the state of Idaho? Do you have ideas that would work for the money for the repair of our infrastructure?
Well, Zeb, we certainly have the revenue stream at this point in time to put more revenue into fixing the roads and the bridges, etc. I have argued that our revenue stream is coming in because of growth. We need to start building the infrastructure to take care of that growth because we're not doing that at this point in time.
Right.
Look at Highway 30 west of Burley.
Right.
I mean, there's still a bunch of potholes and stuff out there.
That's right.
I've had calls from constituents complaining about that. You know, some of the excess funding ought to go into fixing our problems like that. I get the fact that people want tax relief, etc. But a significant majority of the population thinks that our taxes are about right. And so revenue above that, we ought to be doing things like fixing the roads and the bridges and fixing other, building other IT infrastructure in the state, in my opinion.
Absolutely. For Representative Wood, I'm out of time. I am way over time, as a matter of fact, and I want to say thank you for a very good program and answering directly all the questions. And I say God bless and come back again real soon on the legislative update. Representative Fred Wood, have a great day. Thank you so much.
God bless, Zeb. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Always enjoy having him on the air. And I want to say thank you, a special thank you again to Clay Handy and all the folks at Handy Truck Lines sponsoring this half hour of our Idaho Legislative Update. They are providing transportation services to Idaho and the surrounding states with terminals in Pocatello, Meridian, and Salt Lake City, Utah. And this year they begin their 90th year in operation and service to you. Handy Truck Lines in Paul. Thank you, Clay Handy. We appreciate you sponsoring our legislative update. Holy cow, I've got to get a weather forecast on here right now. And the weather brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. They've been providing accounting services to the Minicash area for well over 50 years. And the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, payroll services, retirement planning, and so much more. Please Please remember they've got offices in Burley and Rupert serving you, your family, and your business. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like that little storm front has moved past us. Today and tomorrow going to be nice, but Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, well, looks like another storm front's moving in. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly sunny skies for today, a little on the breezy side. Winds out of the southwest, right around 7 to 10 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 40 for today. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, below 28. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 45. More clouds rolling in for Wednesday night, mostly cloudy skies with a low right near 35. Now for Thursday, snow showers are likely mostly before noon, mostly cloudy skies with a high of 38. About an 80% chance of snow showers, new accumulations less than an inch possible. For Thursday night, that snow shower could continue mostly before midnight, low right near 23. And then for Friday, 30% chance of snow showers, mostly cloudy skies, high of 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, my, great job, Gina. Thank you. And brought to you by some people that really do a great job, and that's Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Accounting services for you. Maybe you're thinking about expanding your business. Maybe you're thinking about hiring more employees. Maybe you need to talk about bookkeeping problems. Whatever, they can help. They will help. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, providing you the best of services in Burley and Rupert. You get a hold of them today. Holy cow, coming up next hour, we have one of my favorite guests on the program. She's very, very knowledgeable and writes for The Stream, and her name is Liberty McCarter, and she's going to be talking about the Women's March this last Saturday, and also how the Women's March, tried to overshadow the Right for Life March on Friday, and we're going to ask her all kinds of questions about that. Then, at 10:30, we're going to have a gentleman back that was on our program about a week ago, 10 days ago, Dave Duquette from Oregon, and he's going to be talking about the animal rights issues that are affecting us in the horse industry, the cattle industry, etc., and also our ability to hook up to the trailer and just haul our livestock and our horses anywhere we want to go. We're going to be talking to him at 10:30 this morning. Reminder real quick, Lunch Bunch will be this Thursday. This Thursday at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Yes, our thanks go out again to Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's, all the folks that provide our gift certificates as far as drawings are concerned. We have a lot of them and a lot of fun every Lunch Bunch. We'll meet at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, this Thursday at 11:30. Right now, we're going to send it back over to Wheels for a couple of minutes. We'll be back. Don't you go away. Oh, my. Good morning. A little bit better than yesterday morning at about this time. The old snow was a-falling, and now basically it's all gone. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. And we want to say thank you to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. The place to go for safety in your wintertime driving. They've got all your traction tires. And also Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Call them 678-1191, helping you get back to being you. We're not going to waste any time. I'm going to get right to it. I'm really excited to have this lady back on my program. She writes for The Stream, and her name is Liberty McCarter. Liberty, good morning to you.
Good morning, Zeb. It's so great to talk to you again.
Well, it's always a treat to have you on the air because you're very, very well informed. And let me just kind of set the stage here a little bit. This last, I should say 2 weeks ago, I had some folks with the March for Life that absolutely were phenomenal. They were on my program. And the march was last Friday on the 19th. The next day was the Women's March, which I thought absolutely absolutely was terrible because it rode the coattails of that first march, but for an entirely different reason. And I listened to some of those promoters from the Women's March and their terrible, salty language against President Trump and this administration and their stance on certain issues that I find are not family issues. Now, you tell me, what did you think of the Women's March versus the March for Life?
Well, I actually wrote about this last week as the two marches were approaching. And I think what is really ironic and very sad is that the Women's March claims to stand for human rights. They say women's rights are human rights, LGBT rights are human rights, immigrant rights are human rights, and they claim to promote all these people that they say are marginalized. But in doing that, they reject the most marginalized group of all, which is the unborn, because the unborn cannot defend themselves or stand up for themselves when they're really the ones that need the most protection. And last year, as I'm sure you remember well, the Women's March actually kicked out an official partner when they found out they were pro-life. So they have rejected pro-lifers on an official level, and so they claim to march for all women. They claim to march for human rights, but really it's just an irony because they reject the most basic human right of all, which is life, because really what their platform centers on is the supposed right to abortion.
You know, Liberty, when you press someone that's a part of the organization of the Women's March, or you ask them pointed questions about why they can stand for this and why they can stand for that, and then you bring up, well, why are you basically shunning the standing up for and protecting babies? What's their answer to you?
Well, I think that it's just kind of a symptom of what has developed over time since Roe versus Wade in our culture, and that's the belief peddled by organizations like Planned Parenthood that abortion really is health care and it really is a woman's right. And there's this lie that unborn life is the enemy of the woman, and that if you have a baby, then it will destroy your career, your prospects, and your life, and that abortion is this essential thing that women cannot get ahead without. And that is just a lie, as you know, and as so many people in America know. And it really comes down to, if you want to stand up for human rights at all, you really can't unless you defend human rights at the most basic level, which is life. But they continue to deny that. And I think, you can look at their partners like Planned Parenthood and other big abortion industries, and there's no time anytime soon that the Women's March is going to suddenly start accepting pro-lifers because they're tied in with these big abortion giants that we know are making money off of abortions, and that's part of the reason why they want to keep them going, even though we can look at studies and anecdotes and everything and see that abortion actually harms women, not to mention it kills millions of children every year.
Liberty and Wheels over at the station, you might try to boost her up just a touch. Liberty, let me read a paragraph that appeared in our paper this last weekend about the Women's March, and for some reason this struck an accord with me because I don't think it's honest. Now listen to what this article says. More than 1 in 8 United States women still live in poverty, and looming legislation aims to chip away at the policies that lend them support. More women are dying of pregnancy-related complications here than in any other developed country, and the rate is rising, and black women are especially at risk. I don't think that's a true statement. I'd like you to respond to that.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know if the United States has the highest maternal mortality rate or pregnancy complications, but unfortunately, studies have shown that it is getting bad in the United States. But the problem really comes in when they say abortion is the answer to that.
Right.
I've seen Planned Parenthood tweet out multiple times that it's safer to get an abortion than to have a baby. And if there's a problem in the United States with, and we don't want to get into the whole health care debate right now, I understand that, but if there is a problem with a lot of women in poverty who are suffering complications or dying in childbirth, well, let's fix those issues to help them have healthy pregnancies, which is what a lot of pro-life pregnancy resource centers are doing. We don't just say, oh, well, you might die if you have that baby, especially if you're poor and if you're a minority, so let's go ahead and kill that baby for you. I mean, that seems more offensive to me than acknowledging a problem and saying, well, let's help the mother and her child. And instead, they're just saying, well, let's just have abortion because it makes women safer. And what they're doing is they're trying to put a Band-Aid over a problem instead of really helping.
Absolutely.
But if you look at what pro-life people want to do and what the March for Life is all about, this year's theme, as I'm sure you heard, was Love Saves Lives, and it was all about being there for the mother and her child. And when there are issues, whether it's poverty or lack of access to good medical care because a woman can't afford it, that's where pro-lifers step in and say, okay, we'll help you, we'll walk you through this. And that's true care, and that's what the March for Life is all about, and that's what the Women's March actually rejects.
Liberty, let me ask you this part of it then. Excuse me, are the women's marches, are they basically creating a problem that isn't even there or doesn't exist? What really do they want? I still don't understand.
It's really hard, and that was one of the kind of funny things about last year. You know, obviously all these women were angry that Hillary lost and Trump won, and so they went out and they marched, and it was just very angry. And, you know, even some mainstream media sources will report, like, there's not really a focus here. It's just women are angry, and this is powerful, but what's it about? Well, we don't really know, but we know that a pro-life group got kicked out, so probably abortion most of all. And now there is a little bit more focus, but they're trying to get women elected, is what they say. They're registering women to vote and encouraging women to run for office. Well, that's code for Democratic women. They don't actually want all women to run for office, which I'm all for. You know, if a woman wants to run for office, that's great. But they only want to promote a certain agenda, and they only want to promote certain progressive ideals. And so it's pretty much just an arm of the Democratic Party at this point. And there is actually even some criticism coming from the left saying, you're not really helping any of these issues that you claim to stand for. You're just trying to get more people to vote Democratic. And that's really what it's about. It's just a big lobbying arm of the Democratic Party at this point.
Yeah, we had a local activist involved in a women's march here in the Magic Valley by the name of Catherine Talkington. And she made a statement that sounds so twisted and torn of any realism and any real fact. And I'll read it to you. She said, all voices need to be heard for balanced decisions. And those voices have a responsibility to be actively participate to be heard. Well, women are not have duct tape over their mouth, Liberty. I don't understand what their complaint and their gripe is. I'm still lost.
Right, and you know, the thing is, if women want to go march in the streets, that's perfectly fine. You know, and like you said, there's not duct tape over anybody's mouths, and I think for a lot of these women, they realize that they could have been running for office and making a difference, and they weren't. It wasn't that anybody was holding them back. They just realized, hey, I want to get more politically involved now because I don't like the current president. Okay,
right.
That's fine. That's what America's all about. Go get involved. But what they're really doing, though, they say all voices need to be heard. Well, what about conservative women? What about pro-life voices? What about people who believe that human rights begin in the womb? They don't want to hear those voices. They say they stand for all voices, but they don't. They only stand for voices that further a particular agenda, which is the far left, radical, Democratic agenda.
Absolutely. Caller, go ahead. We have a caller. And Wheels, I need you to back it off just a little bit. Little feedback. Thank you, sir. And caller, go ahead. You're on the air, please.
Well, Liberty, if these liberal women wanted to have done things properly, since Roe versus Wade, we've murdered 50 million babies in the womb. Let's say that there was 25 million of them that would have been women. This would have been a good thing for their cause, and maybe they would have had a few more people to choose from to run for president besides that sham of Hillary. But you see, these people, there is no logic to anything they do. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. One thing that you don't really hear a lot of talk about in these women's marches is the fact that half the people that are getting aborted in America are girls. And I've seen some pictures of signs at the March for Life that I really found true and made me smile because they said, I believe in a woman's right to be born. So we have to look at this and say, if you really value humans' rights, why don't you value a woman's right to be born? Why are you losing all of these children, including girls, in the womb? And that, they don't want to talk about problems across the globe where sex-selective abortion is often forced on mothers. They just want to continue promoting abortion in the United States and worldwide, and they don't see how this is really targeting a lot of people, including minorities and women in other countries.
They keep using, they being the left and the liberals and the Democrats and this women's march, they keep using one word all the time, and I still don't understand what it means, and I don't think I'm a block of cement on my shoulders, but they keep using the word change. We need to change it to this, that, and the other thing. What kind of a change? Really, what are they for? I still cannot figure this out.
Well, if you go to womensmarch.com, you'll see their list of what they call unity principles, and really what it is, it's just a reiteration of, again, big democratic agenda points, immigration, LGBT rights, quote, women's rights. Again, people have these rights, but they're talking about basically making abortion free for all or trampling on the religious freedom rights of other people. So it's really hard to say what they're for because there is kind of a lack of focus, and there has been, and the really only clear focus we see right now with their events is this idea of getting a lot of women registered to vote and kind of motivating women to run for office, but again, only Democratic women. If you're a pro-lifer, or if you're a conservative, or you have right-leaning views, then you're not welcome at all. It's really hard to kind of say, oh, this is our issue. They just kind of, I think, are mad still and angry at the current political climate.
Yeah.
And so, and the frustrating thing is the mainstream media is hailing this and basically worshiping the Women's March as this, great historical thing. And yeah, there are millions of women marching, so in that sense it's historical, but it's just people reacting to an election they didn't like. It's not like there's any groundbreaking thing going on here.
Let me ask you this, Liberty. When the Right to Life had their march on Friday, and then the next day, of course, the Women's March, and they seem to get all the media, they seem to get all the press. As a matter of fact, I read a story where there were 3 times more stories printed and talked about in the media about the Women's March than there was on the Right to Life March. Why? Why can't it be reversed and people use common sense about the right to life?
That's hard to say. I think it's just because it's been drummed into mainstream culture that abortion is a staple of women's rights in America, which again is so false, and what abortion does is actually harm people. But pro-lifers who are peaceful and have marched peacefully, thousands of pro-lifers, 45 years in a row, they march every year no matter who the president is or what's going on, but they're just seen as these radical, fringe, anti-abortion, people that hate women, and that's how they're, characterized as, and they don't get much media attention, and that's just the culture we're living in. But if you look beyond the mainstream media and you look at the people who are showing up to the March for Life, it's a lot of young people, and I've seen some really interesting articles this past week with all the events that were happening, noting that with all the scientific advancements in the last decade, a lot of these younger generations are realizing an unborn baby is not just a blob of tissue. It really is a human being from the moment of conception, rapidly developing into a baby. And so I think you're starting to see kind of a generational shift of more people realizing that they are not for abortion. They are, in fact, pro-life. So the mainstream media is going to ignore this. So you have to look at who's actually showing up to the pro-life marches. There's a growing number of secular, feminist, pro-life groups, which is very interesting. Because it's not just a movement that belongs to the religious right anymore. It's really growing in our culture. But again, mainstream media won't report that.
And Liberty, let me say this in the form of a question somewhat, but I'm seeing in this country something that really scares me. I'm an old man, but I'm starting to see a complete devalue or not caring for life in general, whether it's the abortion issue or whether it's the kind of a hemlock society that's being employed against our elderly. And without people like you drawing attention to what's really going on, I just wonder how far these groups would go in trying to create a basic, like I said earlier, hemlock society for both the unborn and our senior citizens.
Well, it's very frightening. I mean, you even have more and more people arguing for infanticide these days. Oh, well, if a baby isn't, fully conscious or can't communicate yet, then it's okay to go ahead and kill it even after it's born. And then, like you said, euthanasia for the elderly. And so you are having these more and more radical views kind of crop up. But I think you have to just, that is very scary. But we do need to focus on the growing pro-life movement and continuing to see what we can do to make that pro-life movement even stronger, and look beyond the mainstream media, look beyond the news reports, and see what this cultural battle is happening. I think you really are seeing the pro-life movement grow, but you're also seeing more scary, radical views pop up as well, and it's kind of this battle of good versus evil, if you want to get down to it. And so it's just really important to keep, stay motivated, realize that the pro-life movement is making progress, and we need to get involved in all these other things like the Women's March and Planned Parenthood. It's just distraction. But, you have to look and see, the pro-life movement, that's where the truth is, and it is growing.
And I just heard something as an add to what we were just talking about. Last night there was a story on television about how even some insurance companies are urging elderly to just go ahead and pull the plug on themselves, stating that it would be much cheaper and economical for the rest of the family. I am absolutely appalled as to the thinking that's going on in America today.
Yeah, that's absolutely abhorrent, and it's hard to imagine that you have insurance companies and people actually encouraging that. And again, we really just need to keep pounding the idea that human rights are human rights. That's one thing I wrote recently when I was talking about the Women's March. They're quick to say, and people on the left are quick to say, women's rights are human rights, gay rights are human rights, whatever. But you can't say any of that if you don't first acknowledge that human rights are human rights. And if we don't have a right to life, what do we have a right to? Really, there's no other rights left if you don't even have the right to live. And that's the message that we need to keep talking about and keep saying and keep promoting, that culture of valuing human life, because it is a battle. There are a lot of scary things out there. And so that's why I think the pro-life movement right now, we're at a critical time. We are growing, but this is really probably one of the most important moments that we've had in our nation for the pro-life movement.
Let me ask you real quick, last question about values, family values, and life values. How are we going to teach these to the younger generation? How is this being portrayed to the younger generation when they don't hear about the right to life, but they do hear about the Women's March and the denigration and the bad, salty language against our president? That's what these kids are hearing, and it's shameful.
It's very true. I actually wrote about this recently at stream.org. Planned Parenthood is coming for your teens, and I know that organizations like Planned Parenthood are very good at marketing. They have text services where a teenager who's scared can text them and they will help them set up an abortion or whatever. And so there's a lot of good going on in the pro-life movement, but one thing, if we could improve, I would say we need to get even more savvy with our marketing, because every teen knows what Planned Parenthood is, but does every teen know what a crisis pregnancy center is? And do they know that there are 20 times more crisis pregnancy centers in America than there are Planned Parenthood facilities? Probably not. So we've been, we have the values and we have the truth behind us, but let's get savvy with our marketing and let's see what can we do to reach teenagers and reach the younger generation and let them know there are other options out there and that Planned Parenthood is not really there to help them. Planned Parenthood facilities are shutting their doors every single year. You look at their reports and you see the number of facilities going down. So that's our chance to step in and say, okay, teens, here we go. This is the pro-life movement. This is what you need to hear about.
Absolutely. We have a quick call. I've only got 2 minutes left in this segment. Caller, go ahead fast, please.
Well, I had to call back. I have a granddaughter that goes to Twin Falls High School, and there's been a little bit of a miscommunication between her and her parents. And the counselor at one of these schools was intervening and overstepping her bounds in ways that I was shocked. And I said to myself, I know these things happen elsewhere, but I didn't think that they would be happening here in southern Idaho, where we still like to think that we're somewhat traditional. But I'm telling you, this kind of stuff is creeping into our lives, and we better stop it. Thanks.
Respond to the caller quickly, if you would, Liberty, and then I'm going to be out of time.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely is happening all across the country, and so again, just goes back to my previous point of really making sure teens are getting the right information, because if you just depend on school counselors to inform them, then they're going to keep things from the parents, and they're going to basically push stuff like Planned Parenthood into the laps and say, here, this will solve all your problems, even though we know that it won't.
Liberty McCarter and Rights for the Stream, and Wheels, back off on the sound a little bit. I'm getting real hard feedback, if you would, please. Liberty McCarter, if they want to follow your writings, tell everybody how they can find your writings with the Stream.
Well, you can look up stream.org, or I'm on Twitter at Liberty McCarter.
Thank you very much, and please come back in the near future. I've enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
Great.
All righty. Liberty McCarter, and thank you with the Stream. And I had enough feedback in my ears to hear a reverb for the next 6 years. I don't know what caused that this morning, but I hope we can rectify that a little bit. And she was talking about the left-wing women's march on Saturday and the lack of family values. And it was. I'll stand behind that. We're going to take a little break and send it back over to our main studio in just a moment. But quickly, I want to remind everybody that on Thursdays we have another segment on our program called School Days in Cassia County. And it is sponsored by two great sponsors, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, with all the winter dresses and the winter coats and, of course, all the toys and the games and the puzzles and the baby furniture, everything at A Child's World. 1308 Overland in Burley. And also Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley, and the number to call to find out how they can save you money on outpatient surgeries like life-saving colonoscopies, hand surgeries, arthroscopic knee surgeries, all of this and more, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley, and A Child's World, bringing you School Days in Cassia County on Thursdays. Wheels, just a quick note. I'm going to hang up on this line and call back at the station during the break at the bottom of the hour, because this line does not sound good to me. And so I'll call you back in just a second. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Don't go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our next and last half-hour segment. And we had this gentleman on the program a week or so ago, about 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. And I'm really interested in having him back on the show with an organization called Protect the Harvest. And I say good morning to Oregon, Dave Duquette. Dave, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you? Great, thanks.
Well, I'm glad to have you back on the program, and we didn't have enough time the last time to really discuss Protect the Harvest and animal rights, animal usage, and everything else. And so I want you to start the program off this time, well, a little bit more about Protect the Harvest. What is your organization? What are you trying to achieve? And then we'll get into some of the other questions that I had from the last program. Go ahead.
Well, basically, Protect the Harvest was founded by Forrest Lucas of Lucas Oil back in 2010 when he noticed Proposition B was happening, and it was dubbed the Puppy Mill Bill in Missouri, which they also dubbed Missouri the Puppy Mill State. And basically, what they were doing was trying to vilify all dog breeders. And Missouri is actually was the largest dog breeding state in the United States. And so what they did was they came in with a bill that was going to basically classify all dog breeders as puppy mills and regulate them to the point it would regulate them out of business. And Mr. Lucas was asked to, basically he was asked because he's got a big ranch there, and he was asked if they could put up signs to vote no on Proposition B on the ranch. And when he figured out what was going on and that nobody was fighting it, he decided to help out. And when that bill actually passed. It went from being like a 79% in the polls to 21%, for it or against it to it actually passed with barely made it with 51% of the vote, and that was from the inner cities. And Forrest put a tremendous amount of money into it and TV ads and things, and that was in the last 3 weeks of this ballot initiative being on the ballot before the election. And then the state legislature actually gutted the bill to where it was fairly non-consequential by the time it was through the legislature. So
okay.
Mr. Lucas put a lot of heart into it, and that's when he founded Protect the Harvest. And so basically we've become, ever since 2010, we've become the organization, the go-to organization whenever there's legislation or something that's happening that is going to cause issues for agriculture, animal agriculture, hunting and fishing rights, things like that. We are wholeheartedly in the battle for the American people.
Dave, let me ask you this. With your expertise and your knowledge of what's going on politically and behind the scenes, I am very worried and, quite frankly, afraid that animal usage, whether it's roping out in my arena or whether it's some 4-H'er having a steer for the county fair to show or whether it could be rabbits in a cage to show, whatever, animal usage and ownership is in trouble right now by animal rights activists. Would you agree with that or not?
100%, Zeb. What they're doing, their goal right now is to pick off areas where they can legislatively, and they cause problems within, say, Massachusetts or New Jersey or places like that. They go and they set a precedent by doing a ballot initiative where, you cannot even practice cap roping at your house in many states on the East Coast now. On your own property, you cannot practice it because it's illegal, or several other types of things like that. One of the other things, the big pushes they have right now is they just passed a bill in California that says that a pet store, an actual pet store, and there's several of those pet stores around that were very credible and had they specialized in purebred dogs. And that was a place where people could go to find a very good puppy that was a purebred if they wanted. And they've made it now so it is against the law for those pet stores to sell anything but a rescue dog, cat, or rabbit.
Wow.
Those are the only things they can sell at a pet store now in California.
Dave,
that's put all the dog breeders out to where, and they can't go to a public market and sell one. They can't go any. They can only sell one off of their place, and that's it.
Dave, as you well know, I don't have to tell you this, but when you take the rodeo business, the horse show business, the dog show business, 4-H, FFA, everything that depends upon taking animals from point B to back to point A or reverse it, that's underneath scrutiny right now. And you were talking about electronic logging devices. What is happening that you're fearful about being able to transport animals for show or rodeos or whatever? Give us an explanation on that, if you would.
Okay, so the ELD mandate has been was pushed through by the Obama administration back in 2012, I think was when it was finally passed, but it had never been implemented because they had so many problems with it, they didn't know what to do. The big trucking lobby want the ELDs because they need them for their companies. They need them because people lose, these bigger companies, they'll lose trucks, and they've told me this. They lose trucks, trailers. They don't know where they're at. They don't know how to track them. So they need this electronic logging device, and they need all the new type of electronics because these carriers are getting so big. With Knight Transportation just bought out Swift. They just bought out 7 other carriers on the East Coast. They're going to be probably the second largest carrier in the United States. Well, Kevin Knight, I know him personally, and he even told me that, they lose those trailers all the time. Hell, there was one sitting between Pendleton and Hermiston that had been sitting there a year, And when I called him on his cell phone and told him he'd been there, he asked me to get the number because they just lost it. Well, they need that stuff, and that's all fine and dandy. But the problem that they're having is that their production, and you think about the billions of dollars involved in a carrier, the second largest carrier in the United States, the billions of dollars involved there, when your production is down, actually down 16 to 17%, because of using the ELD. They've been using it for a couple years, maybe a few years now, and they're down that far in production. So that equates to hundreds of millions of dollars in production.
Right.
So that's why the big companies want this ELD mandate to go, or to be a mandate that goes all the way to the independent truckers. The independent truckers don't want it, and we've been fighting this for a couple years. The horse industry was asleep. Everybody, and I'll call the American Horse Council out by name. The only thing they had on their website about the electronic logging device in the mandate was that they were going to inform their members what they needed to do. They weren't going to seek exemptions for the horse industry. And that is, now it's down to 26,000 pounds. So you have a guy from, I get calls every day from people right now, and I got a guy from, older gentleman from New Mexico, a small cow operation, registered cattle operation. He was headed to Tennessee to pick up a few head of cattle that he had bought there, registered cattle. And when he left New Mexico, he left with his 8 by 24 foot stock trailer, empty, with a 3/4 ton pickup. And when he got to Arkansas, he got pulled over. And when they pulled him over, he ended up the fines he got were ridiculous, but he also ended up having to hire someone with a CDL for a 3/4 ton pickup and a stock trailer. Had to hire somebody with a CDL to go to take his trailer to Tennessee, pick up his cattle, and bring them home. And that's the kind of thing that's happening all over. And the worst part about it is the furtherance of commerce clause that's in there. And basically what that is if you're a non-pro showing a horse and you have a truck and trailer that's over 26,000 pounds combined weight, and they don't weigh you, they go off your tags. So if your trailer can hold, so like this guy's trailer was rated at 16.5 or 16.4. His truck was rated at his truck was rated at 10.1. So that made him 26,500 pounds. He has to have a CDL. He has to go by the hours of service on the ELD mandate. He has to go through all that.
Dave,
and if you think about also the biohazards, if we ship cattle from California or Nevada or somewhere to Nebraska to be processed, how many times in a 10-hour period are they going to have to be unloaded? Because they can't sit on the bus for 10 hours while the truck driver rests. But if you show up to load, once you start your truck, you go to load up cattle. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 hours to get a load of cattle by the time you get there and all that. But once you've started your truck, you have 14 hours to complete 11 hours of driving. So you get your truck loaded, and say it takes the cowboys, everybody, 4 hours by the time you started and got there. You're going to be, you have 4 hours until you have to take a mandatory half-hour lunch break, because in that first 8-hour period, you have to take, after 8 hours, you have to take a mandatory lunch break. Then you've got maybe another, however long you can get to drive till you run up on your hours of service. And then you have to take a 10-hour break. 10 hours. No, you can't move your truck. You can't do anything. Can you imagine people at a horse show or a rodeo going to a rodeo and having to sit there for 10 hours afterwards?
Yeah.
Or can't go to the hotel room with their pickup because the logging device is on their pickup, not on the trailer. So you hook up, you unhook at the horse show. And there's only so many hours you can do in a week. How does all that equate? And nobody's been paying attention to this until we brought it up in November And when Protect the Harvest brought it up, then, oh, man, everybody decided it was a big deal, Horse Council included. But we're really behind the gun right now. We need everybody in this country to call their representatives and call their state and federal representatives and say, hey, this needs to change. Because you can replace horses or cattle with boats. You can replace them with, the weekend race car guy. And I skipped over the furtherance of commerce part. That part says if you're a non-pro and you're going somewhere with the ability to make money.
Yeah.
Or you're paying an entry fee. You're in furtherance of commerce. It doesn't matter if you're a professional or you're a non-pro or just a weekender. A barrel racer going to a barrel race decided, not even a pro rodeo barrel racer, but she had won $80,000 barrel racing the year before. The state patrolman looked her up and said, looked her up on his little computer in his car and said, you're in furtherance of commerce because you won $80,000 last year.
Oh, my.
And that's how this is going to work.
We have a caller with a question for you, and I'm getting short on time again, Dave, and I've got a lot more questions for you. Caller, quickly, please, ask your question of Dave Duquette.
Yes, I looked on the Internet this morning, was reading a story on this about beef haulers hauling cattle, and like you're saying, at 10 hours, they have to unload. So that also adds on extra pricing of the end product for people getting the meat from the store due to the fact they'd have to find somewhere along the way to unload. That costs feed, time, stress on cattle, which is just going to drive the industry pricing way, way up. Your hamburgers are going to go up and so on and so forth, but I thought that was interesting. I'll let you go. Thank you.
Respond to the caller quickly, Dave, and then I've got another question for you. Go ahead.
Well, he's exactly right. I talked to the state vet who's on the National State Vets Association from Nevada, and that's J.J. Gogachia. And, we're right. We are right. It's not a matter of if, it's when we're going to have another big outbreak of some kind in the cattle industry that's going to do something. And if we got to unload cattle, every 10 hours, or we got to unload cattle every whatever it is, the biohazard of unloading those cattle or horses, think about EVH1. I mean, if we have to unload them all the time like that, it's going to cause a huge biohazard.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, let me ask you this question, and I'm almost sorry, and I mean this and take it the right way. I'm almost sorry that we're talking about this because I'm afraid it's going to alert authorities and try to, the standard authority that wants to have more power and do more things to create a problem. Are we looking at a problem that a lot of the so-called authorities don't know about? They're not enforcing, or what is the status right now today?
Well, I don't know. I totally get what you're saying, Zeb. And but it's a double-edged sword. You can't hide from this. We can't hide from this. We have to go punch it in the face and go head on at it and get it stopped and get exemptions. And if we don't, I live in Oregon. Hell, I got Kate Brown for a governor over here, and they're going to look for, and Jerry Brown down in California, they're going to look for every option to make money that they can. So yes, it's going to happen here, whether they know about it for sure right now or not, or they're doing anything about it. I haven't heard a lot about anything happening in the Northwest yet, but those laws will take effect, and the state patrolmen are going to get, the patrolmen, the port of entries are all going to get schooled on it, and it's going to happen. And there's going to be no more flying by the scales because you're pulling a horse trailer or you have a not for hire sign on your truck. It's not going to work, and you're going to get pulled over and have to get, if you don't have a CDL and you don't have all the proper stuff, you're going to have to find somebody that does, and you're going to get thousands of dollars in fines.
Let me say this, Dave, real quick. What would you tell my audience they need to start doing today, whether it's a 4-H club, whether it's a roping club, whether it's a person that shows quarter horses or Arabians? What do these people need to do starting today?
the best thing that they could do for us, because we're working with folks within the administration to help change this, and we are doing things behind the scenes that we're hoping to get done. But the best thing that I can get, like the National High School Rodeo Association just sent me a great letter about what, how this is going to affect them. I mean, think about the college kids that they go to rodeos on their own. They can't even you're not even old enough to have a CDL. And if you can get an in-state CDL, you can't get an intrastate until you're 21.
Oh, boy.
So most of those kids that are 18 to 21 can't even drive a truck and trailer on their own. So what I need is a really good letter on how it's going to impact people and their organization. The more organizations, what I need is how many people they represent, how it's going to affect them, and how much they oppose this. And if anybody sends me an email and asks for a template, the National High School Rodeo Association is an excellent template to go off of, and they can look at. They can send me an email at dave@protecttheharvest.com. Ask me for that. I'll send it to them. They can send me. It doesn't matter if it's a local club, a national club, whatever. And we've tried to get, we're compiling a big list of those, so I can take the numbers, the mass numbers, in to say, this is what's going to happen. This is how this is going to affect this country.
Dave,
it's not just on the private side. I mean, it's the bee haulers. I mean, you think about bee haulers. That's something that most people don't even think about. And the like the guy, your caller said, the effects on our whole country and our whole commerce of the country is going to be vast with this law.
Okay, Dave, real quick, and I've only got 2 minutes left in this segment. What about the largest breed industry in the United States, the American Quarter Horse Association? What about the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association? Are they doing anything? Are they aware they've got the money and the power that they can really help this fight?
The AQHA is very much engaged. The PRCA has, as you know, has gone through a lot of turmoil of late.
Yes.
Or changing of the guards. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
And I have not heard back from them yet, and I really hope to soon. But they're, the major breed organizations for the horse industry have already sent letters to me, and have already been a big part of it. So what I need is, I need all the small ones, all the ones that I don't deal with every day, because the horse industry is so vast, and the rodeo world, all of that. There's so many organizations that don't think that they can make a difference, but they really can.
Absolutely,
they really can. And I mean, it's gonna affect every trailer dealer. So I talked to Randy Bloomer the other day. It's gonna affect him big time.
Absolutely.
With Bloomer trailers. And all the trailer manufacturers, we're getting a letter from all the trailer manufacturers, their association that they have. So there's a lot going on to get to these people. But my biggest thing is don't be a sideliner. Don't stand there and wait for somebody else to do it, because what they're doing, and what I hear in D.C. all the time, is, why don't we ever hear from the horse industry? How is it, the horse industry, if it's so big and so vast, why is it so hard to get them to step up and say anything?
Absolutely.
Well, the American Horse Council is about as useless as it gets, and there's a bunch of guys that like to drink and go have expensive dinners, and that's about what they do over there. So
I'm going to have to interrupt you right there, Dave, and I've got to cut it off because I'm flat out of time. But please know that after the program this afternoon, I'm going to give you a call. I want to talk to you about information. Dave Duquette with the organization called Protect the Harvest. Very valuable information. And thank you for being on the program this morning, and I will be in touch with you very shortly. Thank you.
You bet, Zeb. Take care.
All right, God bless. Very, very interesting segment with Dave Duquette up in Oregon, and I'm going to have more of him and what his organization is doing in the next couple of weeks. Holy smokes, got to get a weather forecast on here real quick, and the weather is brought to you by Scarrow's Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. You can go to their website, too, and check out all the delicious meats at Scarrow's Meats, and it's scarrowsmeats.com. Don't forget all the smoked hams and the bacons and the breakfast sausages and the bratwurst, all of this prime ribs, delicious. Right now, let's go to the weather with Gina.
Looks like that little storm front has moved past us. Today and tomorrow going to be nice, but Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, well, looks like another storm front's moving in. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly sunny skies for today, a little on the breezy side. Winds out of the southwest, right around 7 to 10 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 40 for today. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, with a low of 28. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 45. More clouds rolling in for Wednesday night, mostly cloudy skies with a low right near 35. Now for Thursday, snow showers are likely mostly before noon, mostly cloudy skies with a high of 38. About an 80% chance of snow showers, new accumulations less than an inch possible. For Thursday night, that snow shower could continue mostly before midnight, low right near 23. And then for Friday, 30% chance of snow showers, mostly cloudy skies, high of 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Brought to you by Scarrow's Meats. Hello, Don Scarrow, and all that delicious meat over there at 331 North Road, Jerome. They are at Scarrow's Meats, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Don't forget our major sponsor, too. We really want to give them a great big shout-out. What a wonderful job they do, serving you at all 7 locations of the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Winter driving, it's not over, folks. I'll tell you what, the mud, the icy conditions, the snow, and everything else, we're going to have to struggle through it for a couple of months. Don't forget they've got all your traction tires like the Observe and the Himalaya. I bit my tongue. The Himalaya, the City R202, the Winter Cat, and many more for your cars, pickups, and SUVs, along with all the tire chains. And, of course, they always provide the best in brake service with highly trained brake technicians, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. We overlook the batteries a lot of times, but don't forget on those cold winter mornings, you need something that's going to turn that engine over and get you to work. Don't forget they've got the best at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I got to run. I'm late, but tomorrow a jam-packed program of great guests. Don't miss it. We'll start at 8:06 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be.